Hello, welcome back to Crushing Sounds. My name is Chris, and today I'm looking at the new debut full-length album from Logistical Nightmare called Scorched Earth. So if you recall, I covered one of Logistical Nightmare's singles a little while back called Cynic. The band approached me to do that review, I was very happy to do it, and we have been advocates of each other's work ever since, pretty much. They have been great guys who have been great supporters to Crushing Sounds and the channel as a whole, and they impressed me with their level of professionalism in response to some of the criticism that I gave regarding their track. I had a lot of nice things to say as well, but this was the first time where I had given a band some constructive criticism, knowing that they, for a fact, were going to listen to that response, so that I was quite nervous of doing that for the first time. However, their attitude has been very professional, and they had just been great guys to work with. So regardless of the music, they deserve your support simply for having the right attitude for this industry. Great guys, so give them support for that alone. So just a quick brief recap. Logistical Nightmare are an up-and-coming prog metal three-piece from Arizona. They have released a smattering of singles and an EP, and we arrive now at the band's debut album, Scorched Earth. So the one major point of contention I had when I heard the single from this album was to do with the levels in the production, basically. Namely, the distorted guitars and drums were too low, and the vocals were too high. Given that this album was likely produced at the same time as Cynic, it's understandable that we still don't have the most desirable production here on Scorched Earth. But I've made my points about that in the previous video. I'm not going to dwell on it here too much. Like I said, this was produced at the same time as Cynic, so it would be unfair for me to assume that they would have sorted all that out by now when we got to the respective album. However, they have done my big pet peeve, and those of you who have watched my stuff know where I'm going with this, a 2-minute intro track which leads seamlessly into the actual first track. You don't need to separate these two tracks, they link together, so make them one track. You're a prog band, make it 7 minutes, no one is going to complain. But that petty rant out of the way, the 2-minute opening Back to Normal is actually quite good, all things considered. I love the reverb guitar after about a minute into it, reminds me of the band Bosk. These clean guitars are at their appropriate level alongside the somber vocals, so overall this is a pretty decent start, and it builds up into the next track really nicely. The band found my channel watching my review of the new Wheel album, and by listening to the track YHAU, is that an acronym that I'm missing? Am I completely missing something there? Whatever. By listening to this track, you could completely call that this band listened to Wheel, especially when it comes to the guitar work in particular. I gushed over the guitars on Cynic, and they continue to remain a highlight for me. The riffs are that quick-paced, intricate, supported by open low string kind of thing that Tool and Wheel are kind of both known for, really. It's the kind of thing that I really enjoy listening to, and it's done to a really good standard here. It doesn't feel like an imitation of other bands, it's just a similar style, and it's really, really engaging. The bass and drums get a moment to shine on the track as well. Just before the 3-minute mark, the vocals and the guitars drop out. It's a really cool little bass section in the vein of the riffing that came before on the guitar, and this also gave me an opportunity to really listen to the drums, which are really tight also, because normally the drums are a bit too quiet. Chimera I really liked. It's a more restrained tempo, but it reminds me ever so slightly of New Age Opeth, my favourite band of all time. You're always going to get me on board if you remind me of Opeth. We even have a wicked keyboard solo in here. There's a lot of variety going on already, and just a heads up, it's not the first time I'm going to gush over some keys. The Woods is beautiful, really nice melodies in this rather short track. I loved this one, and it leads into Dead Skin, which is heavy as fuck. The guitar riff is really punchy, and when those harsh vocals came in, both my eyebrows went up. That was a really cool moment. The rest of the track also gave me slight Opeth vibes, the more frenetic instrumentation of Opeth. I love the guitar work on this track in particular. Then the vocals at 3 minutes 20, he fucking goes for it. It's so pushed, and there is some grit on the vocals, and that's it. That's what I want from these vocals. I mentioned on Cynic, they occasionally feel like they're too held back. This is the kind of thing that they need. More of this, please. It appears later on the track Buried, and I really want more of it. It works really, really fucking well. This song, Dead Skin, is just awesome. It's got everything. It's really fucking good. I really appreciate and admire how this band tries so many different things, because following on from that Heavy as Hell track, we have an almost smooth jazz piano ballad called Leave. It's really restrained, but so gripping as well. I like how it slowly progresses back up with the guitars creeping back in. There are some really, really cool melodies in here and really nice harmonized vocals as well. I was not expecting this kind of thing, but I'm all here for it. Also, it seamlessly moves into Cynic, which was a really, really nice segue as well. The closing title track I could only describe as hypnotic. I love the subtle piano work and how it all builds up so gradually, and the little guitar solo as well sounds absolutely amazing. We return to that almost smooth jazz sound for the majority of this track, and I'm here for all of that. I was not expecting that kind of influence when I started listening to this album, but now I don't think the album would have been the same if that were taken out. It's all been fed into the prog metal sound so expertly, and it sounds effortless as well. It's seriously impressive stuff. But of course, this is a metal album, so we need to end big, and they do just that. After the 5-minute mark, everything comes charging back in, and the vocals here are thankfully really, really fucking good. They are pushed, they sound huge, and paired up with the instruments, it's a really epic ending to the album. I always like a closing track to feel like a proper conclusion to the album as a whole, and this track certainly achieves that. It sounds absolutely massive and really does push you up right intensity to lead the album to its outro. I knew going into this that at the very least I would love the guitar work on this thing, mostly because of the standard set by Cynic. I still love the guitar work here as well. The riff writing at times is Wheel and Opeth standard, and I really do mean that. It's that fucking good. However, what has amazed me here is all the unexpected things that Logistical Nightmare have thrown in that make Scorched Earth one of the most interesting prog albums I have heard in a while. I love the ambient sound of the woods. I love the heavy as fuck Dead Skin. I love the smooth melodies on Leave, and I adore the title track. It is fantastic stuff. While I still think some of the vocal performance can be improved, there are quite a few moments where they really do work for me. When they are pushed and when they are gritty and when they are epic, they work really, really well, and everything is done to complement everything else. Nothing feels out of place when put alongside the other instruments or the vocals for whatnot. Everything is very meticulously thought out, even if some of the performance can be a little bit better. During the more somber moments as well, some of the harmonies are also really, really good. I will swing back to the production on the vocals. I will reiterate what I said in the Cynic video. This band is clearly still working on getting this kind of thing nailed, which is more than fair enough. We're all learning as we're going, really. We all start somewhere. However, I think this may be the one sticking point for casual listeners of this album. While most people will likely put up with it for a single, it's another thing entirely when it's a 45-minute album. It doesn't bother me, as I appreciate the learning curve and what goes into this kind of thing, but the odd random person who knows nothing about production, who checks out this album, may not be able to appreciate that, and they may struggle to get through that kind of thing. But based on the band's social media, they have already dived right into getting another album done. That passion and work ethic and their general attitude is really inspiring and is what's going to make them succeed. I will say again to the band, get that production up to snuff. It really is all you need, and then you're away. I can see some criticism of this album that there's a lot of different things going on. It's not especially focused. I don't really agree with that sentiment, because the kind of jazz inspiration that comes in, while it's not in every track, it's in quite a number of them, so we kind of have two distinct styles going on, which I think work really well together. Some people might not, that's a personal preference thing, but other than that, musically, composition-wise, I cannot fault Scorched Earth. It really surprised me. I loved this album. Guys, you have fucking nailed it. If your next album is anything like this, you guys are going to have some seriously solid music. work on that production, get those vocals right up to par. I know you can do it. And yeah, thanks again for all your support to Crushing Sounds. You guys are absolutely amazing and lovely people. I'll continue to support your work as well. Been a pleasure. Thank you all so much for watching. Consider watching more of our stuff and following us on social media. Links down in the description below to all Logistical Nightmare stuff as well. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good day. Go listen to some heavy metal.